So I called this a high-tech divorce, removing the ring. These are my disclosures, which aren't relevant. So I'm just going to give a brief overview. So this is an 18-year-old girl who had congenital cataracts at age 1. And then she presented to us with aphakia and a Summering's ring. She was interested in a possible secondary lens implant. She was wearing a contact lens, but complained of it getting cloudy at the end of the day and really wasn't interested in pursuing that. She was amblyopic in that left eye. You can see here she best corrected to 2100. And she did have some nystagmus as well, but really other than the aphakia and the Summering's ring, everything else looked pretty good. So for those of you and this is her appearance. So those of you who have tried to remove Summering's rings, they are not very straightforward. They can, you get a lot of fragments and challenges in trying to decide what to do. If you do just put in a secondary IOL in these cases, there's often much more of a myopic shift or tilt of the lens, and that can be a big problem. These are just some other photos here of the situation. So biometry was relatively unremarkable, and you can see a little bit on the OCT here. There's a elevation from that. So here we have this 18-year-old girl who's aphakic and has a Summering's ring, and our plan is to remove the ring, enlarge the central posterior capsular opening, and either place a posterior chamber lens either in the sulcus or potentially do flange interscleral haptic fixation, depending on what happens. Just so you know, I mentioned before, challenges with the Summering's rings, you can end up with anterior posterior dislocation, glaucoma, synechia, visual disturbances, and the IOL complications I mentioned. So here's the video. So we decided to do a femto capsulorhexis, since making a rhexis would be very difficult in these cases. This part went fairly smoothly. This is sped up a little bit, but basically we went in, put in some viscoelastic, and was able to nicely go in and safely remove that capsulorhexis. There is a little bit of adhesions where the anterior and posterior capsule was fused centrally, but we were actually able to peel that all off quite nicely. And then basically we did viscodissection to help remove the ring. And the ring came out very nicely. We were able to almost completely remove the ring. And so now obviously these rings do break up. And just to make sure we could keep in the anterior chamber, we put a Sheets glide underneath the we had to enlarge our wounds, of course, but put a Sheets glide underneath this ring so we could safely remove it without losing any major pieces and sending them to our retina colleague. So that takes a little bit of time, but this was a safe and effective way to remove the Summering's ring. And once we were able to do that, we were actually able to remove any residual cortical material, a small amount of vitreous, but actually not very much. We inflated the bag, and we were actually able to place our 3-piece directly in the bag and well fixated. You can see a little bouncing there, but otherwise able to get that out. And notice so there's a suture there next to our wound so that we could maintain the anterior chamber. So that was kind of an unexpected outcome. Patient very happy with her vision, 2100, and by a month even more happy, 2080. And she was not bothered by the residual opacification in the capsule, so we did not proceed with a capsulotomy. Thank you.